Well, hey everyone, it's 7Demo7, Jeff Yang. How you guys doing? Well, today is the day that we're going to go over the full review of the ASW 28 and also some of the modifications that I made to it. So let's get going. Right on the green, baby. Awesome. Okay guys, so the first thing that we're going to go over is how it came out of the box, things I needed to do to get it to fly, and some little modifications that I had to do. Just last night I did some more modifications that I haven't flown yet, but I'm going to go over those as well. Well, okay guys, so out of the box the ASW 28 was perfect basically. The only minor little thing that happened with this model is that the tail screws were not the right size. They were too small. They would just basically fall into these little spots here, and down here is basically 4 screws. But if you're a modeler worth your salt, you probably have a large box of screws, which should take care of that issue very easily. I don't think many people have had that issue. Also guys, not to toot Andrew Newton's horn so much, but I did also follow a lot of his modifications that you will see here in this video as well. I took out all of this stuff right here, which is the pilot, the wood tray, the wheel, and I basically took out about 140 grams of weight in the nose section, and it allows me to have this whole bay open. You can see here, I was running this on 1300 4S. You can see I've got my little mark where this CG's there. With the 2200, it goes back a little bit further, so I've got my RX8R up here in the top, and the reason I bought this is because I wanted the vario function, because I had a vario sensor. Of course guys, the reason you want to take weight out of the nose is because this model is notoriously nose heavy. I was able to take the weight off of the back of the airplane and just concentrate on keeping the CG proper with the battery position. Now one thing to note guys is the CG position on the wing, the little dimple that they have underneath here, is just perfect. Now when I set up models I usually will have the model slightly nose down. With this model you don't need that, you just need the model perfectly level and it will be a great flyer. Now I did, on the Maiden, I changed my battery from the 1300 milliamp pack to the 2200 milliamp pack, which made me nose heavy. And when I flew it, it was definitely not as good of an experience. Alright guys, so I set up crow braking on this following Andrew's video. Like I said, I'll have a link in the description down below, but basically it's set up on the slider, so pushed all the way up, there's no flaps and no crow. So if you go to 50% down, it's all just flap, and if you go beyond 50%, it takes you into crow, which takes the flaps down even further, and it raises up the ailerons. So that's full crow braking. Okay guys, so everyone knows that these canopies, they crack because it's really the wrong kind of plastic. It's not flexible enough. In fact, right out of the gate, my canopy here got chipped. So I could probably take a piece of tape or probably some laminate and go over this and recreate that hole. I'm running this off of the 3 pegs right here. I noticed that these pegs here that go into the side of the fuselage are really way too tight, so I took a reamer and I reamed out the holes that these go into. They slide in really nice and easy now, and they pop out. And I do tend to run just a piece of tape front and back on the canopy just to make sure that it doesn't pop out. Okay, let me just flip the airplane over real quick and I'll show you guys what I did to the wheel area. Of course, I took the wheel out. So this is where the wheel formerly was, and I took some EPO foam and I formed it to the shape here and just hot glued it in. This is going to allow the airplane just to skid on the ground when I hit the ground. I may put a little piece of rubber here, something to slow the thing down. Now, when I landed this on a flat surface like a runway, it just kept rolling and rolling and rolling, and I'd have to control everything with the rudder, and eventually the whole thing spun out at the very end. So I didn't like that very much. If you're a grass flyer or if you land on grass a lot, the wheel is probably a really nice idea. This really, in the inside of the fuselage, allows you to put a lot more things in there. Let's say if you were going to go for a flight controller, that would be an ideal setup. So you can see here inside the fuse how much space is in here. You could make a little platform over here, way in the back, to add flight controller if you wanted to. And also, if you just take a look inside the fuselage here, there's just so much room to really do anything that you really wanted. So the only other thing I did, of course, is I lined the bottom of the airplane with Velcro so I can move things around. I also added some Velcro to the top shelf here so I can move the XAR around if I want. I've got one of the antennas going horizontally here and also the other antenna coming up here vertically as well. I may move this one to the inside over here just to make sure that this isn't hanging down. The only other thing that I did is I added some stripes to the right wing here, so when I'm looking up at it in the sky, I can see what side is the right and left, just to give me some orientation. The other thing that I noticed, and I noticed this on somebody else's kit, is that the wings don't quite go all the way flush in here. And this side here is much closer than this side. You can see there's much more of this flat section showing here. So that was also something that was a little bit odd on this airplane. Not a huge deal, it still flies perfectly. Now, a quick thing about the wings is that they were very, very hard to get into the fuselage. I was basically making impressions of my finger marks, trying to get the wing in far enough to click in with the clicking wing retainers on the bottom of the wing. So what I had to do is I kind of placed the wing into position here, and to find the high spots or the parts that are the tightest, I took this little quad propeller, I stuck it in here and ran it along here until I found which spots were the highest. And then I took a sanding block and I sanded off some of the foam on the top and the bottom to get the wings to slot in still snugly, but not so crazy tight. I can remove the wings very easily now. When I would push down on this little tab here to get one of the wings out, I can't remember if it was this side or the other side, but I couldn't push it down far enough to clear both teeth here. I needed to take one of these tabs here and shave it down to where when I did push down, I could actually release the wing. Okay guys, so when it comes to the flap control rods here, they're a little bit too long, so I actually had to wind this down to the smallest amount that I could get, the shortest amount that I could get. As you can see here, the threads actually came all the way up past the point where it attaches, so I had to clip off the top of that little horn, right, the screw metal portion of it. So I did that, and this just barely makes it workable. It just barely works for this. So one thing you guys could probably see here that I did to this opening right here is I took a Dremel tool and I actually made this. It was a very small hole right here where the servo leads came out of. I made this probably 2 or 3 times as big as it used to be. This is the original Y cable that was this doubling up of the servo leads could barely fit through here. It was very hard to get it pushed into the fuselage and orientated around. One other thing to note is that I do have these nice tags here that are on my servo leads that tell you exactly what is what. We have flap and aileron 2, so on the other side is flap and aileron 1, so I can keep them organized in case they happen to pop back into the fuselage and I don't know which one is which. But I get these this sheet from Hobby King, and it basically has this huge list of all these different things that you can choose from, and I've had it for years and I've never run out of these things, but I get these from Hobby King as well. Okay guys, so one thing that's going to make taking your wings on and off a lot easier is to run these servo extensions out of the body, so you're not having to worry about pushing these servo extensions back into the body, so you never really have to worry about that. Now when you get to this point of the wing here, the foam drops down and it has a bigger pocket from here
to here, so it's really nice that these servo leads can actually pop down into the wing here. The one thing you'll have to do is actually shorten up the servo leads here, or just double them over inside of this pocket. So what you can do is, after you get them plugged in, is actually double over these servo wires, put it right inside that little pocket, and then put the tape right back over. So that's way it's going to make putting the wings on and off much easier, just disconnecting them here instead of having them pushed all the way inside of the body. Now you're probably going to want to run a piece of tape over the wires here just to make your airplane as slippery as possible going through the air, but I thought I would point that out. Andrew Newton also has a nice way of using a 3S battery balance lead to connect all your wires together. It makes it just one connection rather than two. Okay guys, here's a little weird quirk that I just looked at here. So I remember how I just tucked in my leads here, and this nice little pocket, this extended pocket, goes all the way to about right here, which is really nice. It's probably a good 6 inches from the fuselage. So that's on the right wing. On the left wing, for some reason, the pocket stops right here. That's literally about 3 to 4 inches instead of extending all the way to here. So I'm probably gonna have to just dig out this pocket here, and I'll put my leads down inside of the wing there. But it's just a weird quirk between the right and left wing. Really strange. Okay guys, so in some of the surfaces here, you're going to see a little bit of a lip here on the foam. That's going to make your glider much more inefficient. So I'm taking a sanding block, like I did over here, and just knocking that down. And hopefully I'll smooth it out with maybe a little bit of glue or something like that. But yeah, that should... actually, if you were to round your surfaces on the trailing edge, it would help everything. But at least I'm just going to take down this little lip right here.
Well, alright guys, thank you so much for joining me on this video. If you can't tell already, I really like this airplane, this sailplane, motor glider, whatever you want to call it. You know, this is about the most fun you're going to have for around $102. It's pretty cool. Now, I did check last night, and unfortunately Hobby King is sold out of these. I'd like to think that maybe I had something to do with that. I was having so much fun with mine that you guys probably went out and got yours. I'm kind of bummed that I didn't buy this airplane earlier because it's such a great airplane. Now I should do a comparison between the Phoenix Evolution and this airplane. Right off the bat, I like this one better because it's more point and shoot. However, after flying this one nose heavy, I have a feeling that I've been flying the Phoenix Evolution too nose heavy just by the flight characteristics. So I'm gonna have to revisit that airplane and play with the CG a little bit and see if I can't get that one a little bit more dialed. Anyway guys, thank you so much for joining my video. Talk to you guys on the next one.